Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
On this Saturday, we're going back 87 years to May 14th, 1935, another episode of an early police procedural calling all cars on the west coast of the U.S., Murder in the Vineyard. We thank you for tuning in on this Saturday, 14th day of March, 134th day of the year, 231 days remaining until we get to 2023. In Philadelphia, delegates began to meet to write a new constitution for the U.S. in 1787. Edward Jenner administered the first smallpox vaccine in 1796. The Lewis and Clark expedition departed from Camp Dubois in 1804 and began their historic journey by traveling up the Missouri River. In 1913, New York Governor William Sulzer approved the charter for the Rockefeller Foundation, which began operations with a $100 million donation from John D. Rockefeller. Now, Israel declared to be an independent state on this date in 1948. A provisional government established immediately after the declaration, Israel attacked by the neighboring Arab states. In 1955, 8 communist bloc countries, including the Soviet Union, signed a mutual defense pact called the Warsaw Pact. Freedom Riders bus firebombed near Anniston, Alabama on this date in 1961. The civil rights protesters beaten by an angry mob. Skylab, the U.S. first space station, launched on this date in 1973.
We have ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 1, 0. And we have a liftoff. The Skylab lifting off the pad now, moving up. Skylab has cleared the tower.
The last launch of a Saturn V rocket, Skylab in orbit from 1973 to 1979, the return to Earth attracted major attention because they didn't know where it was going to come down. They had no clue. President Ford told the American people in 1975 he had taken action against Cambodia for the seizure of the SS Mayaguez.
At my direction, United States forces tonight boarded the American merchant ship SS Mayaguez and landed at the island of Koh Tang for the purpose of rescuing the crew and the ship which had been illegally seized by Cambodian forces.
The incident continued another day. It was still a black mark in history. The finale of Seinfeld aired on this date in 1998. 76 million people tuned in. Much of New England hit with a massive flood on this date in 2006, forcing people out of their homes and causing millions of dollars of damage. And The King of Queens aired its final episode on this date in 2007, the last live-action American sitcom that debuted in the 90s to go off the air. Passing away on this date in history, the founder of the H.J. Heinz Company, Henry John Heinz, actress Billie Burke, Hugh Beaumont, Ward Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver, also actress Rita Hayworth, Harry Blackstone Jr., the magician, Frank Sinatra passing away on this date in 1998. They dimmed the lights on the Las Vegas Strip that night. You know that. Also, Lila Quartermain on General Hospital, Anna Lee, illustrator for Mad Magazine, Will Elder, blues musician B.B. King, actor Powers Booth, and the very, very funny Tim Conway, all passing away on this date. This is the birthday of Mel Cooley on the Dick Van Dyke Show, the bald-headed guy, Richard Deacon, born on this date. Oh, this is also Bobby Darin's birthday.
But the musical story, well, that starts back in 1958. April 10th of that year, in fact. And I walked into a record session with a song that I'd written, and a lot of hopes and a lot of dreams. Now, it wasn't the first record session I'd ever done, but it was the first time that I felt, well, maybe I could have a hit out of this particular date. The man upstairs was smiling at me that afternoon because, well, the song did become a hit. And, oh, by the way, the sounds you hear in the background are the actual pre-recording tune-ups and rehearsal of that record date. And now, the beginning.
Well, Bobby Darin recorded 3 songs in that session. They all became million sellers, made him a big name in music. But his biggest hit would come a year later. Something from the 3-penny opera. Oh, the shark has shiny teeth, dear. Yeah, Mac the Knife, Bobby Darin, passing away way too young in 1973 at the age of just 37. Speaking of people passing too young, Leon White, best known to wrestling fans as Big Van Vader, he passed away at the age of 63. And Dr. Death Steve Williams, taken of cancer far too early. A couple of great wrestlers there. A couple of great directors celebrating birthdays today. George Lucas from Star Wars and Indiana Jones is 78. From Back to the Future, Robert Zemeckis, the director, 70 years old. Actress Cate Blanchett is 53. Shanice turns 49. I love your smile. Yeah. From General Hospital and Joan of Arcadia, Amber Tamblyn, 39. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, 38, and Miranda Cosgrove is 29, another actress. Those just a few of the people who celebrate. The 14th day of May is their birthday, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
By the way, if you didn't hear Bobby Darin talking there, we got blocked again by the music Nazis. We're going back 87 years, May 14th, 1935, Calling All Cars and Murder in the Vineyard on this Saturday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here on your favorite radio station.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We have found earlier and earlier episodes of Calling All Cars. This is one of the earliest we found. We're looking for some shows because we found some of horrible quality in 1934, and so my sources are looking for those because I'd love to bring you a show from 1934 of good quality. This one, though, 87 years ago, May 14th, 1935, Calling All Cars, and this is entitled Murder in the Vineyard.
Calling All Cars, a copyrighted program created by the Rio Grande Oil Company.
Calling all cars, attention all Fresno County Sheriff's cars, broadcast 79, regarding a murder. The body of Faustin Lasser, found on his ranch near Fresno. That's all.
Tonight, Rio Grande welcomes Fresno to that fast-growing list of cities who fight crime with Rio Grande cracked gasoline. Fresno has speeded up all police cars, as well as ambulances, fire engines, and other emergency equipment, with the gasoline that powers more police cars wherever it is sold than any other brand.
Congratulations, Fresno, from the Los Angeles Police Department. We've been using Rio Grande cracked gasoline in all Los Angeles police cars for many years.
Good work, Fresno. The police of Oakland are glad you choose the same fine gasoline that now powers all Oakland emergency cars.
The police of Berkeley are glad to see their judgment confirmed by Fresno police. Berkeley changed to Rio Grande Cracked many months ago.
The city of Merced is delighted that our neighboring city of Fresno also uses Rio Grande Cracked gasoline. We warn criminals that our police cars are now better equipped than ever before.
How about a word from Arizona? You California cities need Rio Grande Cracked gasoline for speed and power. The sheriff's cars of Arizona counties must cover plenty of territory to catch criminals. We need power and speed. We have to have mileage from our gasoline, too. We're glad to tell you that Rio Grande Cracked gasoline gives us everything.
Rio Grande is mighty proud that so many cities specify cracked gasoline exclusively for emergency engines. But we don't want the public to think that we make a special gasoline just for police cars. No, indeed. These cities use exactly the same Rio Grande Cracked gasoline that you can get from your independent neighborhood dealer. At no extra cost, you too can enjoy police car performance. And now it is our great pleasure to present Sheriff George J. Overholt of Fresno County. Sheriff Overholt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the West. I am honored to join the ranks of the peace officers whose cases have been dramatized on Calling All Cars. Situated as we are in Fresno, midway between two of the largest cities in the West, our policing problems are often of a cooperative nature, as we are called upon to assist the authorities of Los Angeles and San Francisco in intercepting the flight of criminals from one of these cities to the other. Nevertheless, we have our own crime problems. During Prohibition, we had many cases of hijacking from the bonded wineries of our famed vineyards, which gave us much trouble. And just as in the great metropolitan centers, so in the smaller cities, we find that wherever human beings congregate, crime and vice will attempt to flourish. Our job is to keep it at a minimum. From the files of Fresno County, Calling All Cars presents tonight an intriguing case which began years ago, and the final sentence of which was not written until quite recently. We hope that you will enjoy this dramatization.
Our story tonight begins nearly 20 years ago in Fresno, California, in front of a cheap burlesque house.
15 beautiful dancing girls, count them folks, 15, straight from Broadway in New York City. And Belle Revere, the famous dancer of daring creation. She dances without moving her feet, the dance of a hero. Step up, gentlemen, and show me your minute of left.
Give me two.
Yes, sir. 2 tickets. And 50 cents out of $1. There you are. How many, please?
Hey, are you sure this show is worth 2 bits?
Well, I know you'll be entertained.
I gotta be sure.
I know you'll enjoy the show.
Yeah? Say, what are you doing afterwards?
I'll be around.
What do you say, me and you go someplace and chin a bit, huh?
It might be a nice idea.
I'll see you right here, huh?
Fine. Right after the show.
Okay, give me a ticket then.
Here you are.
Don't forget.
I won't. How many? Police.
Yeah, it's me. What's the idea of wasting your time talking to that rube?
That's none of your business. You gotta promise lots of things sometimes to sell tickets.
Yeah? Well, you're never gonna make any big dough selling tickets in this dump. None of these hicks got any dough in them.
I'll see you after the show, Lee. I don't want to argue with you now.
To me right now, and you'll
I
like
gotta
it.
sell tickets.
There ain't any more customers. This show's dying on its feet, and you know it. Melba Levere and 15 Broadway beauties, my foot. A lot of rejection from the Barbary Coast honky-tonks. What are you going to do when they close up and you're out of a job?
I'll find another one.
You bet you will. I've found one for you already.
What do you mean?
Yeah. See this advertisement in the paper? Wanted, housekeeper. Good home, not much work. Inquire Faustin Lasser, Blocks 32, Fresno.
I don't want to be a housekeeper. I like it here. There's lights and noise, and maybe an Easy Mark will come along.
Listen, baby, the Easy Mark has come along. This old buzzard is lousy with dough. He lives on a ranch in the outskirts of town, all by himself.
Lee, I tell you, I'm not interested.
Oh, yes, you are. You're going to do just as I say. Now, you get out there tomorrow and get that job. Put on the charm for the old monkey.
So, boss, yeah, quiet you down now. Got to get my milking done before sundown. Yeah, that's better. You won't be jealous, will you, bossy girl, if that advertisement I put in the paper works, will you? I'll see that my housekeeper treats you nice, bossy. Yes, I promise you that. Huh? Who's that? What you want?
Are Are you Mr. Lazaire?
Yes, that I am.
I've come to see you about the ad you put in the paper.
Oh, you did, huh? Well, how long you been standing there at the door?
Just a minute.
Didn't hear what I was saying, did you?
Why, no. Was you saying something?
Yes, I was talking to Bossy. I get lonely, have to talk to someone, and Bossy never talks back.
I see.
So, you come about the advertisement, eh?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Patricia Wells.
Where you from?
Madeira.
Married?
No.
Ever been married?
No.
Uh-huh. Old enough to be married, ain't you? And more.
Oh, yeah, nearly 30. But the right man never came along.
Yeah, dare say he will someday, eh? Yeah, dare say he will. Nice plump girl like you. Pretty you are.
Thank you.
Well, you don't need to blush. It's just an old man saying it. You look strong. Think you'd like to take care of me? Keep the house up and help me with the work around the place?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would.
Pay you $10 a month and you keep.
Well, it ain't much, but I think I like you, and so I'll take it.
Well, you don't say. You think you like me? Well, can you milk?
Oh, sure.
Let's see you milk Bossy here.
All right.
There now, Bossy, quiet. Yeah, so. There you be.
How's that?
Fine. Why, as well or better than I can do it.
I learned how when I was a little girl.
My, what pretty hair you got.
Oh.
Yellow, like corn tassels waving in the sunlight. And your cheek, pink as your ripe peach, and soft as a touch. Do you think you'll like it here, Patricia?
I know I will.
It does not take buxom Anna more than a few weeks to lead the dazzled and bewildered old rancher to the altar. Life becomes an unbelievably rosy paradise for lonely, toothless old Faustin Lazaire. Everywhere his bride goes, the old man's hungry eyes follow her. For the rejuvenation of the spirit which she has brought him, she knows he would do anything. So one evening at supper...
Yeah, my, Patricia. You certainly are fine victuals.
Do I measure up as a cook, Faustin?
You measure up every way, Patricia. Every way. I don't know how I ever got along before you come to me. Certain that Sadie, my first wife, never could turn out eating food like this.
Faustin, you shouldn't speak of the dead that way.
Oh, well, I don't mean no disrespect. Sadie was a good woman, far as she went.
Faustin, I'm worried about you.
Worried about me? What you worried about me for?
I'm worried about your health.
About my health? Why, I never felt better in my life. Eating good and sleeping good.
Yeah, that's all very well. But there's a lot of hard work around here, and I think you need help.
I don't need no help. I've been working this ranch 20 years by myself. Guess I can go on now. Especially since I got you.
But if you had another hand, you could plant more vines in that south field. And you could put in a couple of more cows. Why didn't pay?
Don't want to. I got enough money in the bank. Several $1,000s I got. And I got you, and that's all I need. I don't want no one else around here.
Well, Faustin, here's what I'm driving at. My cousin's coming to California.
Your cousin?
Yeah, my cousin George. He wrote me and said he was leaving the farm back in Idaho and wanted to know if I could find him a job. So I thought maybe we could give him work.
Oh, well, that's different. Seeing as how it's your cousin and you're asking me to do it, yeah, that's a lot different.
Then you will take him on as a hired hand?
Yeah, I guess we can manage to do that. Fix him up a little room out in the stable.
Oh, Faustin, you're so sweet.
Sweet? Sweet.
And so in much less time than it takes to travel from Idaho, Cousin George arrives at the little ranch. From the first, old man Lazaire dislikes him. But for the sake of his wife, he keeps his opinions to himself. For several days, Cousin George makes himself useful around the ranch. And then one evening at supper time, he and Anna pause on the back porch.
All right, Anna. Let's get it over with now.
I tell you, I can't do it, Lee. I'm scared.
Get up and do as I tell you.
Lee!
Never mind the argument. Remember, you're still my wife, even though you are married to that old buzzard. Now, listen. When I say I'm sick, you let him have it with a hammer. I've got the gun.
What's the matter, you two? Come on in here. The victuals are getting cold.
All right, Anna, let's go.
What's the matter with you, George? Letting all this good food go to waste?
I ain't hungry.
You ain't hungry? Why not? You put in 16 hours a day planting those vines.
I don't know. I just ain't hungry. Guess I'm sick.
Oh, that's too bad. Hey, Patricia, see if you can find some of that castor oil in the medicine chest.
All right, I'll go right away.
I don't want no castor oil. I just feel sick. Patricia, I think I'm sick.
You mean now?
Yeah, now.
Patricia, what are you doing to that hammer?
You'll find out soon enough, you old fool.
What do you mean?
Oh, what do you think she married you for? Love?
Keep away from me.
Shut up, you. Give it to Anna.
Patricia!
Oh, George, listen.
What?
A dog howling at his departed spirit.
Oh, rats, get hold of yourself. Now, listen, you know what you're going to do and to say. I'll never think of looking for him where we buried him. You better plant something in that patch.
Me? Well, where are you going?
I'm taking it on the lam for a while. Remember, you do everything just as I told you.
George, don't leave me here with him.
Now, forget it. First thing you do, you clean up the house.
George, come back.
I'll see you later. In the meantime, you'll be hearing from me.
George!
No, Miss LaSalle, you home?
Oh, hello, Mrs. Stanley. How are you today?
Oh, fine, thank you. I was just driving into town. Wondered if you'd like a ride.
Well, that's kind of you, Mrs. Stanley, but I got a lot of work to do today. I don't think I'd better, really.
Oh, now that's too bad.
May 14th, 1935, Calling All Cars on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 87 years ago today comes up next on your favorite station. You know, for years you've heard me talking about My Pillow here on Classic Radio Theater. And the My Pillow and Mike Lindell have right now a huge buy one, get one free extravaganza. And what are the things they include? They include several different varieties of My Pillow. The Giza Elegance My Pillows are buy one, get one. Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows. I, by the way, have one by my recliner. It is delightful, and many times I don't intend to doze off, but I do. Also, the 6-piece towel sets and bed sheet sets, those are all available. Buy one, get one. Now, they've set us up our own page over at MyPillow.com. You go to MyPillow.com/USA. That's MyPillow.com/USA, and you will find links to all the current buy one, get one specials. Plus, with everything you buy now, you get Mike's softcover book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. It's a $20 value, but you have to use the promo code USA. You get the book free when you purchase anything. Dog beds, $19.99, as low as $19.99 with the promo code. And you know those dogs love the MyPillow dog beds. And the MyPillow slippers, pet blankets, complete mattress systems, 2-inch mattress toppers. Those are delightful. Go to MyPillow.com/USA or call 1-800-951-8175. Use the promo code USA at checkout. MyPillow.com/USA, promo code USA, and save you a great deal on a great night's sleep and other things when you go to MyPillow.com/USA. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater here on your favorite station. We're listening to an episode of the West Coast program, Calling All Cars, as it was originally broadcast Tuesday, May 14th, 1935. In the newspapers of that Tuesday 87 years ago, these were some of the headlines. A constitutional amendment to require a 2/3 majority of the Supreme Court to hold unconstitutional any act of Congress introduced in the House as an outgrowth of the recent 5-4 decisions by the tribunal. The resolution, introduced by Representative D.C. Dobbins, a Democrat of Illinois, who said it ought not to be possible for a mere majority on the Supreme Court to nullify an act of Congress. This resolution prompted by the resentment that we always hear expressed when the Supreme Court, by the narrowest possible margin of 5-4, nullifies an act of Congress. He cited the latest conspicuous case, that in which the Railroad Pension Act was held unconstitutional. 2,000 workers will return to their jobs in the big Chevrolet transmission assembly plant in Toledo tomorrow, ending for the time being at least the latest labor controversy which has threatened the entire automobile industry. Simultaneously, word received that 9,000 employees of the Fisher Body plant in Cleveland, who had struck in sympathy with the Toledo workers, had voted to return to work. Harold Ickes, the Public Works Administrator, ordered immediate decentralization of his staff to speed application and action on $10 billion in PWA applications expected in the $4 billion work relief drive. Ickes ordered about 100 lawyers, 50 engineers, 25 finance examiners, and trained stenographers to be transferred from Washington to state PWA offices as quickly as possible. Patman bonus supporters, bending every effort to beat President Roosevelt's expected veto, held up final Senate action on the measure again today. Robert G. Van Tyne, United Press correspondent, reports on the verge of final approval and dispatch of the bill to the White House. The Patman forces held back. They decided not to send the bill to Mr. Roosevelt for several days until senators who are going to Atlanta for funeral services of Major John S. Cohen, former senator, return to the Capitol. The Senate voted to extend the National Recovery Act until April 1st, 1936. That despite President Roosevelt's demand for a 2-year continuation. No record vote, the action taken with less than 1/3 of the membership present. The Senate today rejected Huey Long's demand for an investigation of Postmaster General James A. Farley, the vote 62-20. Senate acted after more than a day of violent debate in which Long hurled new charges of fraud and manipulation against Farley. In refusing to investigate Farley, the Senate followed the recommendation of its Post Office Committee, which brought in a report declaring Long had failed to convince the committee he had sufficient evidence to back up his charges. Barbara Hutton and Count Kort Hogwitz Renvelo of Denmark, married in almost as much secrecy as that which surrounded her divorce 24 hours ago from Prince Alexis Midvad. The newlyweds sped from Reno, apparently glad to shake its dust from their feet. Some sources close to the family said they were en route to San Francisco for a portion of their honeymoon, while Barbara's attorney, George Thatcher, claimed they were going to Elko, Nevada, en route to the east. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Tuesday, May 14th, 1935, on your radio 87 years ago today, Calling All Cars, which will continue in a moment on this Saturday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
Ad for what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. On Sunday's Classic Radio Theater, Frank Lovejoy stars in an episode of Night Beat from 72 years ago, May 15th, 1950. The Night Watchman. Did a night watchman named Tony Graham, who walks with a cane, set a series of warehouse fires? His father seems to be a bad luck symbol, too. That's on Sunday's Classic Radio Theater. But now the conclusion of Calling All Cars. 87 years ago today, May 14th, 1935, Murder in the Vineyard.
My, ain't it hot today?
Yeah, it is hot.
Haven't seen Mr. Lasser around. Is he taken sick?
Well, no. No, he's very well. He's gone away on a little trip.
On a little trip? Well, where'd he go?
Down to Mexico. He has some mining property down there, you know.
Oh, yes. Seems I do remember him saying something about his mining stocks. That was before you married him. He was more neighborly then. How about the hired man? I suppose he's staying on. taking care of you.
No, he's gone, too.
Well, now do tell. So you're all alone, eh?
Yeah. George got a better job over in Porterville.
Well, must be hard on you keeping the place up all by yourself.
I managed somehow.
Mr. Lasserre be gone long?
Well, I'm not sure. Several months, anyway.
Well, if you get lonely, you must drop over to see me. After all, we should be good neighbors.
Yes, indeed. I'll do that, Mrs. Stanley.
Well, guess I better get along to town now.
Goodbye, Mrs. Stanley, and do drop in again.
Indeed, I will. Goodbye, Miss Lasserre.
Bye, Mrs. Stanley. Snooping old gossip.
A few days later, Anna receives a letter from her husband, that is, George, and promptly leaves for town for the first time since the murder of Lasserre. Her first stop is the bank, where the late rancher's money is deposited.
Why, good afternoon, Mrs. Lasserre.
Good afternoon, Mr. Walsh.
You're quite a stranger.
Yeah, I don't get in very often.
I hear Mr. Lasserre's out of town. Mrs. Stanley was in last week.
I expected you'd hear it from her. Yeah, he's gone to Mexico to look after his mining properties.
Well, so you're a widow for a while, eh?
A widow? Oh, yeah, for a while.
What can I do for you?
Well, I just got a letter from my husband, and he enclosed a letter to you. Here it is.
Please honor my wife's checks for whatever amount she cares to draw against my account. Very well, Mrs. Lasserre. We'll be glad to take care of you. I suppose you'd like some money today?
Yeah.
How much?
About $100.
All right, I'll get it for you right away.
For several months, Anna draws comfortable sums against Lasserre's account, money which she splits jointly with her husband, who remains in hiding at Exeter, a small town nearby. Then one day she appears at the bank with another order.
So Mr. Lasserre has decided to remain in Mexico indefinitely. He wants me to sell out and join him there.
Well, we'll miss you, Mrs. Lasserre.
Thank you. My husband tells me you've made him offers in the past for his property. And he's made out and signed this bill of sale, which I've signed too.
Well, how much does he want for the property?
$5,000. He tells me you offered him that several years ago.
Oh, I see. I don't quite remember. But perhaps Mr. Howard will.
Well, here's the bill of sale, and here's his order to pay the money over to me. Can you take care of this right away?
Well, not this minute, Mrs. Lasserre. That's quite a sum of money. Could you come back tomorrow?
Well, if I have to.
I'm afraid you will.
I want to get started to Mexico as soon as possible. I miss my husband so.
Yes, I can appreciate that fact.
There'd be no way to get the money later in the day. I'll be here until late this afternoon.
I'm afraid not. I guess you'll have to come back tomorrow.
Oh, very well, then. I'll be in the morning.
That'll be fine, Mrs. Lasserre. We'll have everything taken care of by then.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh, and goodbye.
Goodbye, Mrs. Lasserre. Can you come in a moment, Howard?
Yes, sir. What is it?
Did you ever discuss the purchase of the Lasserre property with old man Lasserre?
Why, no.
Neither did I.
Why, what's up?
Well, Mrs. Lasserre just came in and asked $5,000 for the property. Had a bill of sale made out by Lasserre and said that we had offered him that amount for the place.
Well, that's strange.
I don't like the looks of this thing. Doesn't sound right.
Are you going to pay her the money?
I am not. I'm going to call up the constable and tell him about it.
The banker informs Constable Drent of Fresno County of the circumstances of Mrs. Lasserre's request. An investigation is started, and Constable Drent, shadowing Mrs. Lasserre, sees her meet Lee Hammond, alias Cousin George, her husband, in front of the Fresno post office. He follows them out to the Lasserre ranch.
Beg your pardon, Mrs. Lasserre, but I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Who are you?
I'm Constable Drent.
What do you want to ask me questions about?
About your husband.
What do you want to know about him?
I want to know where he is.
Well, he's in Mexico.
I see. And who's this gentleman here?
He's my cousin, George.
That's the same time your husband did, didn't he?
Hey, listen, what's the big idea? Can I visit with my cousin without a lot of annoyance from the cops?
Now, don't get excited. I just want to get at the bottom of this.
At the bottom of what?
Mrs. Lasserre, are you sure your husband's in Mexico?
Of course he is. He's down at the Suara mines. He's staying with Thomas Farley, the superintendent of the mines.
He told you he'd been offered $5,000 by the bank for this property?
Sure he told her that. I was working here at the time. I heard him say it at dinner one night.
Well, that's very interesting. As a matter of fact, the bank at one time wanted to buy this place and offered him $10,000 and refused to sell. Said he'd never part with the place. Well, you come in with an order to sell for $5,000.
Well, he wanted to get rid of the place quick.
Sure, that's it. And he wanted my cousin here to get down to him in Mexico as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound plausible. The bank would have paid $10,000 as soon as $5,000. If Lasser really wanted to sell, he'd probably have asked $15,000. I'm afraid there's something crooked about this whole thing.
Well, I haven't any idea what you're driving at. My husband is very eccentric, of course.
Yeah, there's no place to go into all that. You two'd better come along to headquarters with me where we can talk this over in more detail.
Now, look here, you can't go...
You come quietly or will I have to place you under arrest?
The officers concentrate their questioning on Mrs. Lasser. For hours, she sticks to her story, telling them repeatedly about Lasser's trip to Mexico.
Mrs. Lasser, we're all tired.
I know we are. I've told you the truth. Why don't you let me alone?
You haven't told the truth, Mrs. Lasser.
You're lying, Mrs. Lasser.
Where's your husband?
Don't tell us he's in Mexico. We don't believe you.
Where is he?
He's in
You're
Mexico.
lying.
Is he dead?
Who killed him? You killed him.
No. Stop. Oh, please don't ask me any more questions.
Where is Faustin Lasser?
20 feet from the ranch house. Buried under the garden patch. With a skull caved in and a bullet through his head. That's where he is.
Who killed him?
No, I didn't. Lee made me do it. He's really my husband. He made me marry Lasser for his money. He was always crazy about money. He made me do it. Lee ruined my life. He married me when I was 15. Oh, I've never had a chance. I've never had a life like other girls. Lee made a tramp out of me. He made me marry the old man. He told me to hit him with a hammer, and then he shot him. He did the whole thing. Lee's the murderer. Get Lee. Hang him, the dirty lout.
So she squealed, huh? Well, that's okay. If she's going to talk, I'll talk too. She did it. She planned the whole thing. And if she swings for this job, she'll get just what's coming to her. She figured out the whole deal. Couldn't make enough tipping those guys at the show house she's working at. What kind of life do you think I had with that woman? I loved her, so I put up with it for years. But I'm not going to let her squeal and lie send me up. She's the brains of this job, and I'm going to tell enough to send her where she belongs.
But in spite of Hammond's braggadocio and Anna's hysteria, both changed their pleas to guilty after the old rancher's body is disinterred from his shallow grave. And in spite of their attempts to shift the blame on each other, they are both sentenced to life imprisonment. Anna in San Quentin, Hammond in Folsom. And here our story should end. But it doesn't. Only the first chapter closes. 10 years pass. Then a short chapter is written at the Folsom prison farm, when a trustee named Charles Lee Hammond escapes. 5 more years pass. It is late summer of 1931. A hitchhiker stands by a culvert outside of Merced. His wrist is tired flagging fast expensive cars, but his hopes rise anew as a sputtering old wreck puffs down the highway.
Hey, want a lift?
I'll say I do.
Okay, hop in.
Thanks. Say, you look familiar to me.
You never saw me before.
You look a lot like Snake Hammond, a friend of mine who escaped from the prison farm at Folsom a few years ago. Only he didn't have a mustache.
Smarter than serving time, wasn't it, Eddie?
What?
Don't think I'd forget you, do you?
So you are Snake Hammond?
Yeah, with a mustache.
Well, I'll be a so-and-so. Last person in the world I'd expect to meet.
Well, just forget that you met me.
Sure, you know me, Snake.
And it ain't Snake Hammond anymore. It's Robert Dorsey.
Where you living?
Oh, down in Fresno.
What? Why, that's where you turned the trick that sent you up, ain't it?
Sure.
Ain't you afraid to go back there?
No, it's the safest place in the world. Last place they'd think to look for me.
Yeah, I guess you're right at that.
Sure. And I'm doing all right, too. Gone straight. Got a good-looking wife.
A wife? But your wife's still doing time in Quentin, ain't she?
Hammond's wife is. But Dorsey's wife is living with Dorsey in Fresno, see?
I see. What they don't know won't hurt them, huh?
Sure. You gotta be cagey. Take this car business, for instance. I bought it in the name of Bert Grant. You know, cover up your tracks.
Sure, it's always a good idea. Well, here we are in Merced. That's as far as I go.
What are you gonna do here?
Try to pick me up a job, plum and fruit. Glad to have seen you, Snake. I mean, Dorsey.
Yeah, glad to have seen you, Eddie.
This'll be all right at this corner
Okay.
here.
Look me up if you ever get down around Fresno.
Okay, I will. So long.
So long.
Hup Coupe, 1923 model, in the name of Bert Grant. And there's $200 on that guy's head.
It is only a matter of a few days before Sheriff Overholt of Fresno County calls Deputy Sheriff W.H. Collins into his office.
Harry, I just got a tip from the warden at Folsom that Charles Lee Hammond is living in Fresno.
Who's he, Sheriff?
Killed a rancher out here about 15 years ago. Went up for life and escaped in 1926. Warden says he's driving a Hup Coupe 1923 model, registered under the name of Bert A. Grant, General Delivery, Fresno. Go out and bring this guy in.
Okay, Sheriff.
But Collins' cheery acceptance of the assignment is no indication of the task he faces locating the one single second-hand dealer among the scores in Fresno who had sold a 1923 Hup Coupe. He sticks with the job for weeks and finally one day locates the seller of the car. But all he can discover regarding the purchaser is that he worked in a packing plant. Another search for a 1923 Hup parked outside a packing plant is rewarded days later, only to be a discouragement when Collins sees a young man of 25 drive off in the car. However, he follows the car to a trim little house on a side street. From neighbors, he discovers that this is the home of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Dorsey, and that the young man is Mrs. Dorsey's son by another marriage. Equipped with this information, Collins approaches a man feeding chickens in the backyard of the house.
I beg your pardon. Are you Mr. Dorsey?
Yeah. What is it?
I just wanted to ask you about that old car.
What about it?
Did you buy it?
Sure. Paid $30 for it. What of it?
You bought it personally?
Yeah.
And your name is Dorsey?
Yeah.
And why'd you buy it under the name of Bert A. Grant?
What? Say, who are you anyway?
Collins of the sheriff's office. I think you better come and tell us some more about that car.
Okay, sure. I'll go with you. Only, can I go in the house first and get a coat?
No, you can't. No funny business. I'm sure the sheriff won't mind talking to you in your shirt sleeves.
Yeah, but you
I'll
see,
pick up the police car here and make it snappy.
Okay, nothing to get excited about. I can explain about that phony name. You see, I was figuring on pulling freight on the old lady, and I didn't want to be followed. You know how it is.
Sure, I know how it is.
A few moments later, Deputy Sheriff Collins ushers Hammond, alias Dorsey, alias Grant, into the sheriff's office.
Well, Sheriff, here's your Bert A. Grant.
Good.
Look here, Sheriff, what's the big idea of all this fuss over a fake name on a registration slip?
Now, let's save everyone's time. You're an escaped convict, and your name is Charles Lee Hammond.
Now, you're crazy. My name's Robert Dorsey. I never heard of anyone named Hammond. You're all wrong.
Let's see your fingers. Uh-huh. I'd know him anywhere. You're Charles Lee Hammond, all right.
You can't bluff me. You can't identify fingerprints by looking at them.
Turn up your right sleeve.
Why?
You know why. Hammond had a tattoo mark on his right arm. It's a horseshoe with the words good luck on it.
Okay, you win. There it is. Good luck. Good luck. On nuts.
No trial this time. The law's procedure was clear-cut. 24 hours later, Charles Lee Hammond, alias George, alias Bert Grant, alias Robert Dorsey, was back in Folsom and outfitted in the striped uniform that marks the escaped convict. And in San Quentin remains Anna, his wife, the oldest woman inmate in terms of incarceration. She has never heard of her husband's escape, his bigamous marriage, in which he duplicated one of her crimes, and his recapture and permanent reestablishment of residence within Folsom's gray walls. But Fresno officers fight on in their endless battle with crime. Today, they are better equipped than ever before. Rio Grande cracked gasoline rides with the police, increasing their power, increasing their speed. Yet as police records in many cities prove, Rio Grande costs no more because its patented cracking process develops extra power, mileage, and speed from every drop. Use the gasoline your police use. Rio Grande cracked.
Cars, attention all cars. Cancellation broadcast 79 regarding a murder. Suspects in this case now in custody. That's all. Rosenquist.
is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for the Rio Grande Oil Company.
From 87 years ago, May 14th, 1935, Calling All Cars on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank this radio station, support their advertisers, and tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.